I almost didn't go. When my sister texted, "Let's have dinner. Just us, casual." I stared at the word casual longer than I should have. We hadn't spoken properly since I told her I wouldn't pay for the wedding. $50,000. She'd said it like it was a favor I was refusing, not a demand I couldn't meet. Still, families have strange weather patterns. Sometimes storms pass without explanation. I told myself this might be one of those resets people talk about later, the kind that doesn't come with apologies, but still counts. The restaurant was too quiet for a Tuesday night. White tablecloths. No menus out. My sister was already there, sitting straight, hands folded, smiling like she was hosting something important. 3 men in suits stood when I approached. Not to greet me. To acknowledge me. That was the first moment my stomach dropped. "Hey," she said brightly. "You're right on time." No hug. No small talk, just a gesture to the empty chair across from her. The men sat only after I did. "This is a bit formal for casual," I said. I kept my voice light. "Old habit," she laughed, a short controlled sound. "You always overthink." One of the men slid a folder onto the table. Thick, clean, tabs visible. "Let's not waste time," my sister said. "We're here to finalize something." I looked at the folder but didn't open it. "Finalize what?" She leaned back. "Your responsibility." The word landed heavier than she intended, I think. Or maybe exactly as intended. One of the lawyers cleared his throat and began explaining in the neutral tone people use when they don't want to be remembered. The documents outlined a loan agreement framed as family assistance, collateralized against my business assets. There were clauses about default, about public disclosure, about shared liability I hadn't agreed to, tied to obligations I didn't create. It was meticulous, thought out, not emotional at all. My sister watched me the way people watch slow traffic, waiting for movement. "You sign," she said, tapping the folder, "or I tell everyone you abandoned me. I'll dispute past transactions. I'll make it messy. You care about your reputation. I don't." There it was, no shouting. No threats dressed up as jokes. Just leverage laid out like cutlery. I felt something old rise up, an instinct to explain myself, to soften the situation, to make her feel understood even now. I'd played that role for years. Reliable. Reasonable. The one who fixes things quietly so nobody feels bad. I didn't open the folder. Instead I sat there and let the silence stretch. She frowned. "Say something." "I brought someone," I said. She blinked. "What?" "My wife," I said, turning slightly. "She's parking." This was the first crack. Not because I'd mentioned my wife, she knew I was married, but because I hadn't told her why she wasn't already here, because I hadn't arrived alone like she'd planned for. "You didn't say," she started. The door opened behind me. My wife didn't look dramatic walking in. No sharp heels, no power suit cliché, just calm, observant, already clocking the table, the faces, the folder. She kissed my cheek, then sat beside me without asking permission from the room. "Sorry," she said to no one in particular. "Traffic." She turned to the lawyers. "I'm his legal counsel." And his spouse. The shift was immediate. Subtle but unmistakable. Chairs straightened. One man's hand stilled mid-adjustment of his tie. My sister's smile didn't disappear. It tightened. "This is a family matter," she said quickly. My wife nodded. "That's usually when things get complicated." She reached into her bag and placed her own folder on the table. Thinner. No tabs. No performance. "I reviewed a draft of these documents 2 weeks ago," she said, looking directly at the man who'd spoken earlier. "They were circulated to your firm by my sister-in-law. They rely on representations that are inaccurate." "Inaccurate how?" he asked, carefully. "Ownership," my wife said. "And standing." She slid a single document forward. "The assets referenced here," she continued, "were transferred into a protected structure last year. Properly disclosed. Properly recorded. Any attempt to assert liability against my husband personally would fail." Aggressively. No edge in her voice. No triumph. Just clarity. The lawyers exchanged glances. Real ones this time. The kind that mean recalculating. My sister leaned forward. That's not what this is about. It is, my wife said gently. Because threats only work if they're enforceable. One of the men asked for clarification. Another asked for time. Their questions were no longer directed at my sister. She watched control drain from the table, and didn't quite know what to do with her hands. So you're just going to walk away? She asked me. There it was. The emotional hook, thrown late. I looked at her and felt something surprisingly quiet, not victory, just distance. We were never walking toward the same thing, I said. The lawyers stood soon after. Apologies were made, vague and professional. Cards exchanged with my wife, not with me. The folder she'd brought remained untouched. My sister gathered her things slowly, like delaying might change the outcome. You think this is over, she said. I think this dinner is, I replied. Outside, the air felt different, not lighter. Just honest. My wife slipped her hand into mine. You okay? I nodded, though it wasn't a full yes. Something had ended in that room. But something else had finally started, a version of myself that didn't negotiate dignity in private. We didn't talk about my sister on the drive home. Some fractures don't need commentary. They just need to be acknowledged and left alone.